faith I'd like to offer to you would be Joseph in the book of Genesis. Let's consider that, number one, Joseph did nothing wrong. He was the favorite of his father at the time, Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph was given certain orders by his father to go out and check on his brothers and report back to the father. He reported back the information his father asked him to, and where did it get Joseph? It got his brothers to conspire against him, throw him into a pit, sell him for 20 pieces of silver to Egyptian traders, and have his brothers go back to the father and have the father think that Joseph was eaten by a wild animal and break the father's heart. Nextly, Joseph ends up being bought by Potiphar, the chief steward of the prison of the Egyptian ruler at the time, Pharaoh. And he was in Potiphar's house, and he ran all of Potiphar's house, and now he was falsely accused of doing something criminal, sexual in nature with Potiphar's wife. Joseph could not defend himself. However, Potiphar knew his wife, and he knew Joseph, and he knew that Joseph was innocent, and so Potiphar had to basically rescue the honor of his wife by putting Joseph in jail, but he didn't have to put him in the common prison. He put him into the upper echelon of his own private prison, where Joseph then ran and administered the jail. While running and administering the jail for Potiphar, again, now he's in jail for doing nothing wrong again, the second time in his life. He then has an opportunity to stand before Pharaoh himself and ends up being elected by Pharaoh or appointed by Pharaoh to be vice Pharaoh, vice governor or governor over all of Egypt. And Joseph ends up saving the world by interpreting the dreams of the Lord and instituting a system to collect harvest and save it for when the drought came to be able to, and the famine to be able to provide for the world. So again, in retrospect, looking back on Joseph, he did nothing wrong, and his faith got him thrown into a pit. Then he did nothing wrong, and his faith got him thrown into a prison. And then in the prison, he ends up becoming the Savior of the world. Now again, this is a period of 22 years by the time he was first thrown in the pit to him being the governor over all of Egypt. You think that if God wanted to have Joseph run Egypt, he could have just sent a messenger and said, hey, run over to Egypt, walk into the palace, and you're going to job's waiting for you, and run it. But again, the Lord uses the foolishness of man, of his foolishness to confound the wiseness of man, and the weakness of God to confound the strength of man. His thoughts are different from our thoughts. His ways are different from our ways. He says in Isaiah that my thoughts are higher than your thoughts and my ways different than yours, even as the heavens are higher than the earth. So again, this poor guy Joseph, who did nothing wrong, went through a 22-year enriching, refining period to prepare him from running his father's business to then taking a bigger job as the CEO of Potiphar's house, as then finally the CEO for all of Egypt. It was a preparing journey. It was strengthening his faith. It was giving him the skills to do what he needed to do. So while Joseph may, like many of us, could have questioned God and turned our back on God and given up on God, he went through a 22-year ordeal just to finally understand that God went through all this to place him in a preeminent position to save the world. He went from running, being a service of his father, checking on his brothers, to running all of the world and saving the world. So again, by faith, we see that faith is real. We see that without faith it's impossible to please God. We see that God will put us into situations to strengthen and develop our faith. So when you pray to God, oh God, give me patience and give me faith, don't think He's going to snap His fingers and tomorrow morning you're going to have faith and have patience. What you're going to have tomorrow morning is a bunch of problems, who then, if you respond appropriately, He can deliver you through these problems, walk with you through the problems, and enrich you and refine you and get you to understand the ways and the things that He wants you to learn, the principles to therefore turn your problem into a profit. Thank you very much.